identity access management. It's basically a service which allows you to manage the access on the AWS console. Now, using this IAM, you can provide manage the whole access related to the infra, related to the users, anything. Okay, so it's basically for the permissions and access kind of stuff. Now here we have multiple sections, as you can see here in the first of all we have the dashboard. This is the dashboard. Under the dashboard we have access management and access reports. Access reports are basically for analyze the stuff regarding the access, like what is going on, potential reports, the archival rules, that kind of thing. So access report is a completely separate thing. We will be going through this thing. Okay, the users, groups, roles, and policies. First of all, let's talk about the dashboard. In the dashboard, initially you get this message, like as you can see, this is a new account where I haven't set up the MFA, so it's asking for the MFA. MFA stands for multi-factor authentication. Now, in the MFA, you have multiple options to set this. Initially, you can use the way I use to set up this MFA using the Google Authenticator app. You can use any authenticator app to use this MFA. Also, it may provide you some like options related to the OTP or sending information to the mail, like code to the mail. But I guess right now it's only offering the MFA to the authenticator, because initially when I started AWS, because you do this kind of stuff only one time. Okay, it's not for multiple times. So if you're going to create the activate MFA, it's going to ask like what kind of MFA you want to set up. First of all, a virtual MFA device. So here you can use the authenticator. It can be Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, or any other authenticator app where you have to specify the keys and you can set up this, right? I think you guys already know about the authenticator apps, right? You are maybe using authenticator apps for your Google accounts as well. Or if you guys
Yes,
are
yes.
doing trading for the using Bitcoins and that kind of stuff, you may have the authenticator app already set it up, right? And here we also have the hardware TOTP token. Now, in this concept, we have to use a MFA device, which is a hardware device that should be attached to your system. Here you can store the like OTP or where the OTP will come, right? So it's a completely separate thing, which is a high security thing, and also a security key concept where you can use a security key to unlock this. So most of the times you will be using the virtual MFA device, which will be your Google Authenticator app. Hardware concept is completely different, and when it comes to the system level, like on the OS level, whenever we talk about the Windows, in Windows you also have hardware level of like authentication where you use a USB drive as the key for the system. Now, a key is stored in the USB drive, and whenever you're going to touch the drive, the system will unlock automatically. This kind of hardware
Mm.
protection is also available. But here we are talking about hardware device where the MFA will come up. Okay, so that's a high security kind of stuff. But yeah, we can go with the that authenticator app system. Now, after the MFA, the major thing that we have, or the base thing that we will discuss, is the policies. Now, policies are nothing but they are the permissions that you want to give to any user, any group, or any role. So this is the core part of this access management. Policy is the permission. Rest of the things are the, you can say, upper category where the policy will be applied, or in which the policies will be mentioned, right? Like for example, there's a user called Manish. I want to give him access on S3. I have to give the policy to that particular user so that the user should be able to access the S3, right? So that's why we have that policy section, sorry, user section over there, and this is the policy. Now we have already multiple policies available in the system. As you can see, we have thousands of policies available right now. We can use any policy from this, and we can use them according to we can implement them according to our use. Now, it's not necessary that every time you are going to use the policies from here. Sometimes you have to create your own policy. In that case, what you can do, you can click on create policy. Okay, and when you click on create policy, now you have multiple way to create a policy. The first way is to using UI. The second way is to create it using JSON. Now, if you guys don't know about the JSON is a JavaScript object notation language, or you can say it's not a language. It's a, you can say, what I will say, it's a map form basically. Map form means where you have key and value pairs. So JSON stands for JavaScript object notation. It's an object notation stuff where you can define the key and value in the pairs. and it's a very good to use, right? JSON and YAML, that kind of stuff you will use at multiple times at multiple levels of AWS. It's a very useful thing to learn as well. You can get the JSON lectures, or it's very easy to understand. For example, this version is a key, and this date is the version value basically. Statement is the key, and this is a blank list, which is the value. You can add multiple values here. Now, if you want to create a policy manually, then you should learn JSON. And even whenever you're going to perform a task, for example, you got the task like you have to set up a SNS to send the traffic notification, and for that you need to want to create a policy for a particular user. Now you can Google that stuff, right? On Google, you will find the policy already created. Like lots of people are using these policies, so you will find the JSON file over there. You can copy paste the JSON files here directly as well. There is no need to create the policies from here. But still, if you want to create the policy from here, you can do that. If you click on choose service, here you will get the list of services. Lots of services are here. So what I want to do is I want to create a S3 service, S3 policy. So I will click on S3. Okay, now it's asking like what kind of policy you want to create, what kind of permission you want on the particular policy. So for example, I want to create a policy for only read permission. Now here I can select the read here. Now as you can see, in the read we have also have multiple types of access. You can select the specific access, like I just want to give a get object permission. Get object, what it will do, it will only give the permission to get the object through the API call on, through the URL only. Nothing else will be available over there. So it's just up to you what kind of read access you want to give to a particular area. So we have multiple points, right? After this, as you can see, so resources are mentioned here. Basically, it's the action. Let me check the resources. Okay, it's the resources. It shows up 8 warnings. Okay, now as if you go down, you will see the warnings. Specify access point, resource ARN, and get access policy. Now, ARN stands for AWS resource name. You can see that it's a resource name where resource number, sorry, not the name. It's a kind of account number, or you can say, for example, we are talking about EC2, right? And we are talking about S3. And if I say there is a EC2 instance with the name Manish, and also there is a S3 bucket with the name Manish, how would you identify the resource if you're using AWS CLI, or if you're not, if you don't know like what kind of resource it is? So whenever you're going to create the policy and where you want to have the mention the resource, you can't mention Manish over there. Why? Because Manish is just a name, right? It's just a tag or name tag which can be mentioned on any resource. So you have to provide the ARN, which is the exact representation, or that will point to the exact, you can say, bucket or resource. Okay. So that's why we have the ARN in this whole AWS. ARN is mentioned in whole AWS, and every single entity has the ARN. So you can mention every single entity using ARN. So here in the resource, you can specify the resource, like for example, access point, bucket name, job, or anything. So you can just click on all resources. It's the best way to define a policy. Now it says as best practice, define permission for only specific resources in specific counts. The reason why it's giving us a suggestion, because it's not a best practice to select all resources. Why? Because you are going to create a read permission, right? And that read permission is specifically for S3. Now, there is no reason to create the read permission for S3 because we already have a policy which has the read permission for S3 resources, S3 bucket and internal stuff. Then why we are creating the read permission? So it thoughts that if we are creating a read permission, that means our motive is to achieve something else. Our motive is to achieve something deeper in this read policy. That's why it's giving us a suggestion, right? Like what kind of read permission you want on object, on access point, on job, where. So right now I'm selecting all because it's just a policy. And let's click on JSON. Now, as you can see, I selected values here, and if I click on JSON, this is how our policy looks like. And as you can see in the resource, it's star. Star is a wildcard entry. Wildcard means everything will come under the star. Resources means every resource which is present in that S3. And these kind of actions are allowed in this policy. This is how a policy looks like. So yeah, using Visual Editor, you can select the values, and in the JSON, you will see the JSON. In any case, if you want to remove the policy, there's a requirement to delete the policy, what you can do, you can copy this policy for your future purpose. If you have created a policy by putting your efforts, you can copy the policy for the future use, and you can read the policy. Now next time whenever you will require to create the policy, just go to JSON and paste the same thing. It will automatically create the same policy. Okay, you guys got the concept?
Yes, Manish.
Okay, so policy is nothing but it's a, you can say, permission kind of thing, which can be applied on any resource, any user, or any group. Okay, now these were policies, right? This was all about policies. Now when we talk about the roles, now roles are dedicatedly for the resources. Resources means, for example, this is a resource called S3, right? And here we have a user. Okay, name of the user is Manish, for example. Now what I want to do, I want to give access on this S3. I want to give write access to Manish user on this S3. In this case, what I will do, I will attach the policy to Manish user, right? Okay. Uh, I have to attach the policy to the Manish user. Now, if I want to do the same thing, not with the user, but this time I want to do the same thing for EC2 instance. Now, EC2 instance is not a user, right? It's a resource. It's a resource of AWS. Now, what I want to do that this resource should be able to access the S3. In this case, I cannot attach the policy directly to the resource, or I cannot create a user. In this case, what I have to do, I have to define a role, and I have to apply that role to EC2. Now, in this role, we have to mention that this is we have to attach the policy. So, in the role, we are going to attach the policy. When it comes to the user, so under the user, we have to attach the policy. It's just as simple as this. Okay, roles are specifically for the resources of AWS.
I
Okay,
have one question,
yes,
Manish.
go ahead.
Like, yeah, like as you said, between two resources, we can role, like we
Yes,
can give access of role.
yeah,
Suppose here in EC2 instance, we have access, EC2 instance have access to access S3, okay?
okay,
And we have a user who is having access to EC2,
okay.
okay? So can he able to access S3?
No, he cannot
The
access S3 directly. Why? Because look, this EC2 instance
through
has
EC2,
access.
through EC2. Suppose he is
Like
using EC2 and
we
through
did the
EC2
same
is
thing.
free.
Like in our previous sessions, we did the same thing with while accessing the S3 buckets, right? You guys remember?
Yes,
What I did, I
yes.
logged into the EC2 instance, then I used the AWS CLI command. And even in that case, I didn't require any credentials to access the S3. But when it comes to the user, whenever when you are using a user, basically, and you are
Yeah, that I
setting,
got. Means he cannot access direct X3, but he can access through EC2.
yeah.
Right?
But now in this
Yes.
case, we use the role, right? And here we didn't provide any credential. We were able to access the S3. But whenever you're going to create a separate user, okay, to access the S3, first of all, you have to configure your credentials. You cannot access the S3 without credentials. You have to configure the credentials so that you can access the S3. So this is the like concept where roles doesn't require any credential. If a role is attached to the instance, that means that instance can access the S3. But when it comes to the user, by user you cannot access the S3 directly. Even the user have if user has the policy, still you can't do that because you it will require the credentials, right? If it's a graphical user, so what will happen? You will be able to log in the as same as this, right? And then you have to go to the S3 and do your work. And if you are using that user on CLI, then you have to log in with your credentials to access the S3. Without credentials, it's not possible. So there is
Yeah,
also
yeah. Suppose one instance, we launched one instance in EC2 and we logged in through CLI by giving all the credential, whatever required. Then after that, can the we like can this user do like access the S3 through CLI? Like if we have something.
look. So sorry, sorry. So you said we have launched one instance and we have set it up the AWS CLI inside that instance, right? Now I don't have apply. There is no role applied on the instance, And by using the credentials of the user, can I access the S3? Yes, I can do that. Even if the
Yeah.
wall is not there, because I am using the credential, I am using the power of user this time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And
Even
look,
the user don't have, even the user don't have access to
no, 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 no,
access the access policy.
no, no, no.
Still he
Without
can, no?
policy, it cannot happen. User should have
Yeah,
access on the
that's
S3.
my question. Yeah.
Yeah, user should have
No,
access on
my
the S3.
question is, user if user don't have access to S3, if he is logging in through a server in EC2 instance, we gave all the credential, but there is a role settled in EC2 and S3 between, like EC2 can access S3.
Look,
In that
look,
case,
look. You said we have applied the role to EC2, and we have
yep,
logged the user all as well on the AWS CLI.
yeah, yeah,
Now the user don't have the permission to access the S3. Would EC2 will be able to access the S3? Now this is a
yes, yes,
this is a
yes.
situation where you are using, you have the power, but still you are using the user. So why would you use the user if you have direct have the access on S3? There is no use case of using a user over there. So
Okay,
using user is not worth over there because you directly have the access on S3, right? Why would you use the user over there? Okay. So now let's talk about the we talked about the roles. Roles are specifically for the like resources, and when it comes to the users, users are dedicatedly for like our use. For example, if you want to give somebody access on this AWS whole resource, so you can directly do that. Add user. Click on add user, and I'm not talking about the CLI access. I'm talking about the direct access. Like if somebody wants to access the AWS console, for example, you are running one organization and you have one employee in your organization, like you hired someone, or you are doing you have you are it's just a startup and you hired somebody to work on your resources, right? Now that person is your employee. Now, for example, you give him a task related to AWS. Now, what he will do, he will say, sir, please give me the credentials of AWS. Now, you cannot give your credentials to him. If you do so, then you are doing your biggest mistake. Okay. So in the case of where you want to share the credentials to somebody, never share your own credentials, even if he is your trusted employee. So in that case, what you can do, you can create his own user. So you can just create a user, create the user, give the name to the user, and give him the permissions which are required. No need to give him the all the permissions. The administrator permission is not required over there. Just give him the required permissions. For example, you only want him to launch the EC2 instances, only give him EC2 permission. If you want him to create the like S3 buckets only, it's for the S3 only, so just give him the S3 permission. Giving permission means attaching the policies here. For example, I want to create a user called Manish, so I just type name here Manish. Now here we have two methods to log in, right? First one is the access key programmatic access, where it will be using the access ID and secret ID. So it's basically for the developers who use the AWS these keys to log in into the AWS. Now you guys must be wondering, why would a developer log into the AWS? Now for example, there is an application which uploads data on the S3, or which uploads data or which manages data of S3, right? So that application cannot communicate with the S3 directly. It will require some permissions, right? In that case, what you will do, you will create a user with programmatic access. Now, through that programmatic access, there will be an access key and the secret key. And in the application, those keys will be used to authenticate for that particular user, and that user will only be able to that user will be able to access the S3 bucket. So that's from the whole programming. Like it's a whole related to the programming. So it's completely for developer use. If any developer asks you to create a user so that he can use that user inside his code, in that case, you have to select this. Okay, you have to provide him access key, secret key, and also the username. Now, for example, you want to create a user for an employee. So in that case, you have to create a password-based user. Now here we also have some permission like auto-generate password or custom password. You can decide his password, or if you want to auto-generate the password, you can also do that. It's just up to you. After just clicking on next, there's the section of permission, and as you can see, we have again multiple options here. The first option is add user to group. Now, why we have groups here? For example, there are people are joining the organization, multiple people are joining the organization. Okay, so you cannot give the permission to one each person individually. It will be very difficult if the number of employees are increasing day by day. So what you do in that case, you create groups. For example, in my case, there are two types of people working in my organization. One is DevOps, and the second one is developers. So I will type it as Dev. So what I will do, I will create two groups here, and I will give the policies to these groups. I will assign some policies to these groups, like the access on every resources, that kind of things to the DevOps, right? Now the admin one, only resource level access. And I will give the S3 access or EBS access, the resources which are only required by the developer, to this group. Now, any user, whenever I want to create a user, what I can do directly, I can add that user in this group directly. So all the policies which are attached in this group will be applied or will be available for that user automatically. So there is no need to copy the create the policies or attach the policies for the users individually. So this makes our work very easier when it comes to the groups. You guys got it?
Yes.
Okay. Now we also have one more option which says copy permission from existing user. Now, what is the meaning of this concept? Basically, it's just to copy the permission. For example, there is an admin user, right? Now there is one more user, there is one more requirement to create one more user with the power of admin, right? For example, there is a user called Manish and it's an admin user. Now there is a requirement to create one more user with the same privilege. So what you can do, you can just click here, copy permission from existing user, and you just have to select the user. For example, Manish user is already created. Now I want to create a user called Vinay with the same privileges. So I will click here, copy permissions from existing user, and from here I can select the Manish, right? If I am creating Vinay user with the same permission. So this is how it works. So again, not necessary to select every policy, go there and select the policy. You can very easily create the user with the same permissions or policies. You guys got it?
Yeah.
And the last one is the simple one where you can attach the policies manually. So this is never not recommended. Always what you should do, you have to create a groups, right? You should create groups. Now add the users in those groups and attach the policies directly to the groups. So it will be beneficial for you. It's a one-time effort. It will be beneficial for you whenever a new person joins the organization. You have to add them in a specific group, or you have to give them a permissions. Okay. So this is how the whole concept of users, groups, and permissions work. You guys got the concept?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk more about uh, something like we also have something called the AWS CLI that we used earlier. But I talked about that like we can log into the AWS CLI directly as well, right? Without the role, we can log in it into it directly as well. So let's do some account setting. What I want to do is I want to create the keys, right, for the AWS CLI user. So here we also have the account settings where you can enable or disable region. Okay, you can enable or disable regions from here as well. If you want to deactivate a specific region for a particular area, you can also do that. Now, what I want to do is I'm searching for something from where I can change the, like, let's click on dashboard. In the dashboard, we may find that particular access that I am looking for. Okay, so as you can see, root user has no active access keys. Using access key attached to the IAM user instead of the root user approves the improves the security. So, okay, let's create a user now. It will be required. Like we cannot work without the user because we need to create the access keys. Let's create the user with the name of Manish. Okay, creating the password, access key, and secret ID. Yeah, let's create the programmatic access user. Okay, so it works with the CLI, SDK, and AWS API. So this time what we are going to do, we're going to use it for the CLI. And similarly, we can use for the like in the programs or as well as in the CLI. So I will not log in through the password because we are using the AWS CLI. So it will help us to log into the AWS CLI. Click on next, attach policy. In the policy, let's select S3. Let's search for S3, enter. Now S3 full access. Remember, full access is not sufficient for this work. So what you have to do, you have to select multiple things here. Okay. In the S3, you have to select almost everything. I will suggest you to select almost everything which is related to S3. So as you can see, we have selected almost everything. Let me type Amazon S3 here so that I can get all the stuff. So these all are the policies that we have selected. That means all policy. And yeah, that's pretty much done here. Let's click on next. Here we have to add the tags for the keys. Okay. So let's keep the tag as name. Let's keep the name as Manish. You can provide any tag. Like for example, I'm creating these keys for an instance, or for the Jenkins, for example, I will mention the use case Jenkins. That kind of tags should be added. Right now, I'm just adding name. So as you can see, these are the policies that we are attaching to the user. This is a user, and we are creating a programmatic access. So this time, this user won't be able to log in through the GUI. It will be only able to log in through the CLI. Okay, you guys can create the GUI user as well. It's very easy to do so. So we also have the option over there to open available the create the password based user. Right? Let's create a user. After creating the user, it will give us a key. So this is our key, right? Access key and access key ID. Download this CSV file. Now this file contains our credentials. Okay, I will keep this page open here and we will go to the AWS CLI. So here I am going to use the Ubuntu, which is set it up as the subsystem of my Windows system, and we will be using AWS CLI here directly. So this is my own machine. This is not any EC2 instance, right? So that will be easy to understand as well for you guys, like how AWS CLI works. APT hyphen APT update. First of all, let's do APT update. It will update the packages, the repo list. It will take few minutes because it's updating the packages. Then we will install the AWS CLI that will allow us to like set up the use the keys. Here we all have the key, and also we have downloaded the same key using downloaded CSV. Always remember to download the keys. Okay. So if you don't not downloading the key and you just did the back, then you will not be able to access the user. So for the safest point, it's good to round. Yeah, you can recreate the keys definitely. You can rotate the keys, you can recreate the keys. We have the option of that, but always keep them downloaded. If you guys have any doubts, you guys can ask. Vinay, Rajeshri, any doubts?
No,
No one else joined, right? Only you two are
no.
here.
Yeah.
Maybe they are enjoying the holiday. It's Black Friday there, right?
Yes.
So what do you guys actually do on Black Friday? Shopping?
Yeah, only shopping for Black Friday, but yesterday for Thanksgiving, most of the Americans eat turkey, it seems.
Okay,
Like they invite all the relatives to the home and they everyone eat turkey, it seems.
okay. So we just did this update, and as you can see, reading information, and that's done. And if you want to upgrade the packages, you can just list upgradable. Like we have multiple commands of APT. Right now, we just want to use the APT install AWS CLI, this command only. And as you guys can see, it's asking for yes or no. We just hit Y, and AWS CLI will be installed in a few minutes. Now, it's a very useful thing like IAM, where you can manage all the credential related and the permission related stuff in one service. Okay, it's a very useful thing to learn IAM because usually you won't be using IAM too much whenever you are working with the big organizations or big MNCs. The reason is that because there is a separate team who manages the IAM. Okay, there is no need of DevOps to manage the IAM. Usually, DevOps doesn't manages the IAM. There's a separate team for this. Sometimes it's the security team, sometimes any other team. The only part of IAM that comes under DevOps is to create the programmatic access. That's the only thing to manage the keys and that kind of stuff. Creating user and removing user doesn't comes under the DevOps part. Yeah, if the company is a small company, it's a startup, in that case, you may get the chance to work on multiple things. Because what happens whenever you join a startup, you get the chance to work on a wide range of like technologies. It's not limited to one technology. Like when I joined earlier, I joined one startup where I was working on three cloud platforms together: AWS, GCP, Azure, all together. Some infra was on AWS, some infra was on GCP, some infra was on like AWS, and it was a bit difficult to manage all the things together because every like cloud system has some little bit different changes. Also, multiple technologies for multiple work. So the expectation from you is very high whenever you're working in a startup. And whenever you're working in the MNC, everything is divided into multiple sections. They will only assign you a specific area to work. And there will be boundaries. You cannot work outside that area. You cannot do anything outside that area. Will have lots of restrictions over there. But again, like there are benefits and the positive and negative both in the both of the cases. In the MNC, the work is not too high, but the like you will not learn that much that you can learn in a startup. In a startup, you can learn multiple technologies. In MNCs, you can only work on set of a specific set of technologies where you can work. So whenever you guys going to choose the organization, choose accordingly. Initially, I will suggest you guys to work on a startup. Initially, after a few years, you guys can switch to the MNC and like think for the relaxation and relaxed environment. Initially, it's good to work on this kind of
Yeah,
thing.
because I guess in MNC there is not, you don't need to work with all resources, but definitely in interview they will ask about all whatever their criteria is.
Yes, yes. No, no,
So if
that's what
you
I'm
don't
saying.
have any, if we don't have any knowledge and real time knowledge, so it will be like, that's what I face. Like they used to ask a lot, but in the like eventually, if somebody is good person, he'll say no, you don't need to work with all those things because I faced. So
Exactly.
yeah, I thought maybe startup is good because it will be little, tough, but definitely will learn all those things.
Exactly. So we have installed the AWS CLI in this system. Now we have to configure the AWS CLI so that we can access this stuff. Right now, let's try the same thing that we are doing on AWS EC2 instance. So this is my own system. If I do this AWS S3 LS, this is going to give me the error. That means your AWS is not configured, like AWS CLI is not configured. So to configure this AWS CLI, I have to use this command. Okay, AWS configure, hit enter. Now it's going to ask me the access key ID. Now you guys remember we got this access key ID from here. Just copy this ID, paste here, hit enter. So this is our access key ID that we just pasted here. Now it's asking for secret key ID. Again, you need to click on show. So this is the secret key ID. Just copy the ID, paste here, hit enter. Now it's asking for the default region. Now we are working on which region? US East 1. This is the region. Let me check the region, right? It's US East 1 now. Yeah, it's US East 1. And it should be seen as this, right? There should be no difference. Even you cannot like keep the things here and there. Hit enter. Now it's asking for the default format. How you want to output come, like in JSON or YAML. You can keep it empty because you will be able to choose later as well. But if you want to type JSON here, you can type that as well. Hit enter. Now that's it. AWS CLI has been configured. Now here you can use the AWS CLI commands. AWS S3 ls, and you will be able to see the buckets. Right now we got nothing here because there is no bucket created in this AWS. But if you want to access the bucket, or if you want to see the buckets over there, yeah, let me create one bucket so that you can access, so you see that bucket over there. Create bucket, name of the bucket test. Okay, let me create a blank direct bucket. Okay, so I will mention the name as bucket already exist. Manish already exist. This should be okay. So underscore is the invalid character. This should be unique. Manish Shisani is a unique bucket. So as I told you, it should be a unique name because it's going to add the bucket name in the URL, right? So you cannot create the bucket with the same name. So as you can see, bucket is created here. Let's go here again. AWS S3 ls. As you guys can see, we got the bucket with the name of Manish Jasani here. Okay, so this is how you can create a user, you can attach the policies, and you can set up the you can create a programmatic access, and you can set up the AWS CLI. You guys got the concept?
Yes.
Now, in some case, if you want to add more users, or if you want to not the more user, you won't require to add the more users, but you may require to add more you can say accounts, because in one organization, if the work is a little bit high, maybe they are using multiple accounts on AWS. Like currently in the organization where I'm working, I'm managing 18 AWS accounts. So in that case, I'm using AWS CLI again. Now, sometimes I want to fire command on account A, sometimes I want to fire command on account B. So how we can manage that thing? So in AWS CLI, we have a option called profile, hyphen profile, where you can specify the profile. Now you have to create these profiles by your own. How we can do that? Whenever you install AWS CLI in the system, there is a hidden directory, or you can say there is a directory which is created automatically in your home directory. Tilde is the symbol for home slash dot AWS. Dot, the directory will become from dot cd and ls. As you can see, config is here and credentials are here. Both things are available here. Vim config, I will open the config, and as you can see, this is a config. Default means the default is the profile, and if I want to create another profile, I can create directly here. For example, the name of the profile is um, middleware. Middleware is basically sometimes is the name of the component whenever you are working on the application. So it's a middle part of application, you can say. Here I can specify the region for the middleware profile, US East 1. So this middleware is considered as a separate account. Remember that, okay? It's a separate profile basically. Can be a same account, but usually we create profile for separate accounts because yeah, we can manage the whole account with one profile, right? We just need to add the policies. So yeah, you can create the like profile like this, and similarly when it comes to the credentials, you can directly change the credentials from here. You remember the access key ID and the secret ID that we just created recently? You guys can change it from here, and also you can create another profile like default is enter here. You can create another profile just down below with different name, and you can specify the keys and values. The reason why we have the name as default here, because we are not using profile word to access the S3 bucket, AWS S3 list. We are not using the profile. But whenever you have specified a profile, or you have created a different profile, not the default one, then you have to give the profile name here, profile equals to middleware, like this. You have to mention the profile name. You can even use it without the equals to, but it's good to use the equals to. You have to use this concept. Okay, now as you can see, the config profile middleware could not be found. There is no profile with the name of middleware, and we know that. You guys got it?
Yes,
Yeah.
if you'll in config, if you'll add middleware, so definitely it will show here,
Exactly.
right?
We have to add the middleware in config as well as we have to add the middleware in credentials. We have to specify the key
Credentials.
ID and password for
Yep.
the user, which is from the middleware AWS account. It's a separate account, whole separate account. Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever you want to manage the AWS CLI with the multiple accounts, you can use it like this. So let me remove the bucket now. I hope I should be able to read this bucket. If not, then I have to change some conditions of the bucket or not this key. Let's delete the bucket. Yeah, I'm able to delete that, and also let's delete the user as well, because it's a good practice to delete the user after the creation. Okay, because we are not going to use this user, just need to enter the name of the user and it will be deleted. So how we can use the IAM. That's all about the IAM. That was all about the users that we created, and also the AWS CLI. Now let's talk more on the user concept. Now, for example, I created one user, okay, or I have 7 to 8 users in my AWS account, and all those users are my employees. Now, accidentally or by intentionally, one user did something wrong with my AWS account. Something wrong means he launched unwanted instances or he stopped the production instance. Now, how I can identify which user did this? I have 7 users. How we can find the culprit? In the AWS, we have a concept or we have a service called, uh, let me just recall the name. I just, accidentally, I just forget the name of the service. It's basically a monitoring service. Let me check the name.
Cloud watch.
No, no, it's not the CloudWatch. CloudWatch is for the resource monitoring. It's specifically for the users. It just slipped from my mind. Monitoring cloud formation, no, not the cloud formation. Let me check the service list, right? I will be able to find that in here, it in here. CloudWatch, SNS, not, these are the known services. Security and identity compliances, here we can find the service. Firewall secret manager, WAF shield, resource access manager, no, it's not the service. IAM, we did this IAM. Cloud Trail, got it.
Oh, cloud trail.
So this is the cloud trail. Now in the cloud trail, you can see the whole activity of the users. First, you have to create the cloud trail. You have to mention the events and you have to specify the buckets. Why bucket? Because the logs will be traveled to bucket, particular bucket. Okay. Then you have to create the cloud trail. Now this is the cloud trail which is created here. Now this cloud trail will be monitoring whole activity that will happen in this AWS account. And whenever there is an issue, you can directly go here and check the what's happening, who created the stuff, that kind of things. In the dashboard, as you can see, these are the events that we did recently. Okay, if you see the full list of events, this is the full list. So this whole stuff was done by the root user, right? We didn't created any user yet. We did everything with the root user. As you can see, put selector event, put selector create trial. We just created the cloud trial, right? This is the event, time, stamp, everything is mentioned here. Create bucket, read user, everything is there. Get billing notifications. You can also get the on the basis of time as well information. 5 minutes, 1 week. You can click on 1 week. You can get the data of 1 week as well. So it's from the 22nd November, 25th November, right? It keeps deleting as well, deleting things as well. Okay. So I guess you guys got the concept of cloud trail. It's a very important thing and it's a good thing to use. It
Yeah,
controls the
man.
event history. And also you can save the stuff in the form of logs. So let me just delete the cloud trail that I just created. Cloud
So,
trail.
so is this a free service or it's a paid service?
It provides you some information for free. Like we got the information from 22nd of the like November, but not later than that. So it will be saving the information of last like 3 to 4 days. If you want to store it for more, then you have to create the trial that we did recently. And because we created the trail, so we can store that into the log files and we can check those logs file later as well.
Okay.
So stop logging. It will be charging for that, right? Logging and the for the bucket as well. So remember that it's not free completely. Now if you click on events and if I select the custom 1 week or if I select the 2 weeks here, even still I won't be able to access more than 22nd of November, right? If I just remove this false, let's see how long I can get this. 2 weeks is mentioned here. Nothing is more than 25th. And if I select the false here, read only false means that should not be read only. Then you will get the 23. And if I just key AWS access key, where the access key is used, so lookup attributes here, I have to select the true here as well. Access, okay. I have to mention the access key here that we is used to perform the action. So I didn't use the access key. Yeah, we can mention the username here as well. Let's mention the root here, hit enter. So all these events are done by root user. So you can get the all events of root user as well. So we have multiple pages. Okay, we have multiple pages. I can guess we can get it more than 3 to 4 days as well. It will be higher. Yes, yes, we can get it. It's not storing too much, but we can still get it. These things will be deleted later automatically. Let me just select the read only. Let's select true from here. Now it's for the 2 weeks is mentioned here. And you can get the information because as you can see, we have multiple pages available here. But there is some limitation, okay? It will be removed or let me check if it is storing the values more than 50 events are already selected in page size. So maybe it's storing the events from the initial, but it's not creating the logs, proper logs. Proper logs means the complete detail, like what happened on that time, what was the entry that was done in that particular section. Okay, it's not containing the whole proper detail, so that will be stored in the logs. Yeah, it's storing this. So in that case, you have to create the logs. That is chargeable. This one is free at some cases. Okay, it's for free, and basically it's for the auditing purpose again to check what's happening. So remember that even if you're working on production and if you are hoping that nobody will see what's happening with the AWS, so never thought about that. Like if you are doing any mistake, that can be caught very easily because CloudTrail is there. Okay, anyone can identify, or the person who is managing the AWS or is the admin of the AWS can easily check who did that mistake. So that's why we have the CloudTrail here. Now, after the CloudTrail, there is also a service which is very, very important in the terms of monitoring, and that service is CloudWatch. Now, the reason why we have CloudWatch is to manage the do the monitoring of resources. Again, some portion of CloudWatch is free, some portion of CloudWatch is not free. So, for example, if you are using creating alarms, then you have to pay some very little amount for that. Now, the billing alarms are free, I guess. Billing alarms are free in the most of the cases. As you can see, you got 10 free alarms, 1,000 free emails notification each month as a part of AWS Studio. After that, it will start charging for that. Okay, so and when it comes to the basic service, whenever you're going to launch the instance and that kind of thing, you will get the basic monitoring. Now, how it works, let me show you. Let's quickly launch one instance and let me show you the concept of this CloudWatch. Launch instance. Here we have the instance. Let's give the instance name as test. Let's launch the any of the instance. No need to worry about anything else. Let's select the DevOps key and let's just launch the instance only because we are going to check that particular CloudWatch. So now in the CloudWatch section, you are going to get the free points for free, but we also have the, you can say, manage detailed monitoring, which is paid. Okay. So this is the free one, which is free, where you will get the CPU utilization, system check fields, in and outbound bytes, that kind of stuff for free. Again, remember that RAM is not coming here. You cannot see the RAM utilization and you cannot see the disk utilization. If you want to see those things, then you have to install one plugin inside the this EC2 instance, and that plugin will be connected to this particular CloudWatch. Okay, so that's a separate concept where you have to install the plugin. We will be going through the default one. And if you want the detailed monitoring, like you want to see everything, particular thing in detail, you want to check the information of every second. In that case, you have to again use the manage detailed monitoring where you have to enable this. But remember, this is charged. After you enable this monitoring, and each instance display console monitor graphs within a minute period. Okay, so it's basically for 1 minute. Within a period 1 minute, it will be start. It will be capturing the data of the interval of 1 minute, and by default, it captures with the, I guess, 5 minute is there. Okay, it shows 1 hour. Maybe it's 1 hour. I'm not sure, but yeah, in detailed monitoring, it's 1 minute. So it will be capturing the data more in that case. Okay. So here you can see we have the CPU utilization and that kind of stuff. And but right now the graph is completely empty, and it will be empty for some time because the instance is just launched and we don't have any output here because it's just launched. So it's a basic monitoring which takes time to load. But if you want to see it in a big, if you want to get a bigger view, you can click on view in matrix and you can get a matrix here. The CloudWatch is opened here, so the metrics will come directly on the CloudWatch. This is CloudWatch. Okay, so you're getting the period is 5 minutes and you're getting this in every 5 minutes. But if you enable the manage detail monitoring, it will be giving you in 1 minute. So it's for basically for the production where you require the intense level of monitoring, and it's the basic one where you just want the monitoring. Okay, it works like this. Now for example, you launch the instance, your application is working on that resource. Now at some point your application got the failure, like your application got failed due to the CPU hike. What you will do, you will check the system, you will fix that issue and it will be running. But if the application is the production application and you cannot face that much huge time of downtime, for example, you're in the night time, the CPU hike got hit the 100% and the application got down, you will not be notified because it's running on AWS. You haven't set it up anything. And again, next day morning, when you will check the application will be down. So to fix this or to get notified whenever any event occurs, you can create the alarms. Now, alarms are very important when it comes to the AWS, and you can create alarms very easily. So for example, this is the CPU utilization graph here. You can open any graph, like right clicking from there to here, like just open system check field, any graph as per your usage, right click there and open it here. Okay, even you can explore the all. If you click on the all matrices will be available here. Here we are only talking about the CPU utilization because this is the major point that we are discussing right now. As you can see here, we have average and that kind of like mathematics here by which you can get the graph. You can modify the graph structure and see the outcomes. And also we have these points, figures to and check the graph, like it will be aligning, that kind of stuff, which will show up here. That will show you the output of this CPU utilization. And here we have the alarm, this bell. You have to click on this alarm to create an alarm. Here, as you can see, we got this graph and you have to specify like statics every 5 minutes. Now, how you want alarm to be triggered? What you want, like in what situation the alarm should be triggered? So you can select the logic here. So whenever alarm hits to, you can say anything that we want to specify. For example, maximum. Okay, maximum, that should be percentage, right? Period should be every 5 day. It will be checking it. No, it's period, right? It can check in 15 minutes. Let's create for 15 minutes. Or we can select the average. Average one is also good. Like selecting the average is also good. Depending on the data, you can select this average. Okay, it's 1 to 0, 0 and 1, that kind of thing, because there is no data here. If the data was here, we can select the more values because we got the idea. And you can specify the threshold here. Must be a number. Okay, let me select the threshold as 25, greater than 25. Whenever the alarm will hit greater than 25, as you can see, this is the red line which shows the alarm. The average goes greater than 25, it will shoot the alarm. Now on that particular time, on that particular alarm, you can select multiple values here as per your requirement. If you just click on here, if on that alarm, you can also set up a notification. What kind of notification you want? We have multiple options to do so. Number one option is to send a mail, which is a very easy thing. In alarm, here we have a select an SNS topic. You can create a topic. Okay, default alarm. You can say the name of the alarm is CP hike, and you can specify the there should not be a space. Okay, you can specify the mail here. Now whenever the CPU will shoot, just create the topic. If I created this topic, whenever CPU will shoot, it will send me a mail. Click on next, and after just clicking on next, it will be set it up. Okay, and it will give me a mail whenever the CPU hike will shoot more than 25. So this is how it works, creating the alarms and sending the mail. Now second option to in the SNS is that, like, this is a one topic that we selected here. We can create multiple topics. For example, you're working with the organization and the organization is using Slack for the internal discussions, right? You can integrate it with Slack as well. In that case, you have to use the Slack webhook, and you also have to use the AWS Lambda over there. Now, Lambda is basically, you can say, serverless stuff where you can directly use the programmatic, or you can use the programming to perform the actions, or you can trigger that program on the basis of events as well. So this is how Lambda works. Lambda is a serverless thing. So with that, Lambda can be triggered on the basis of events. Like for example, the alarm hit it, and you want to trigger the Lambda on that point. You can specify the Lambda after creating a topic, and after specifying the Lambda, like for example, I'm creating a topic here. I don't want to. If you want to do the auto scaling, you can also specify that EC2 action, system manager action. There are multiple actions you can do, and use topic for ARN to notify another account. If you want to notify any other account, you can also do that. You can trigger the Lambda, and in the Lambda, you can specify the webhook of your Slack channel, and that target will be send it to the Slack. Also, you can send it on Teams as well. There's also webhooks for Teams as well. So it's just up to your organization how to do that. Okay, you guys can easily do. So now we have set it up the alarm, and which will work whenever CPU utilization goes more than 25. So we don't have any data here because the instance is very new. Okay, you guys got the concept of this CloudWatch, SNS, and the alarm.
Yes, Manish.
If you guys have any doubts, you guys can ask.
So, do we have some options like we can connect this to, or like we can get a call?
You mean
Are those
like,
options also well?
yeah, like whenever you are using the Lambda, Lambda is not limited to anything. Whenever there is a service or there is a stuff where you can integrate the programming, that means it's limitless. You can
Okay,
say
okay.
you can put
So,
a lot of
this notification we have to do through Lambda.
exactly any third party notification, you have to do it with Lambda.
Okay.
You have to integrate the webhooks over there so that you can send the notification to Lambda and that kind of thing. You can even trigger the SMSs on your phone. You can even do that. But
Hmm.
again,
That
it
that
requires,
thing we can do with SNS, right?
yeah, it's the SNS where we send the mail. That is SNS. SNS will be
Yeah,
enabled
with
every time.
SNS, can we send it like text message also or no?
I guess there's the option of text message. I remember that, but again, it's chargeable for few point. Like I can see text messages here. Okay,
Mm,
organization number. You can also set up calls here, I guess. But there is something push notification is also there if there is any mobile
mm,
application that you want to trigger. Yeah, there are multiple options. You can also get the subscriptions from here. You can create the subscription like it's pending. Now, why it's pending here? Because I just got the mail to approve
mm.
this notification, right? I'm not going to approve
Yeah.
it. Like I got the mail which says that you have chosen to subscribe to topic and the ARN number is there. To confirm this subscription, click and visit to the link below.
Mm,
That kind of mail. So if I just accept this subscription, it will be active, and whenever this triggers, it will send me the mail. Because if I put the email ID of anyone, it is not going to send the directly sending the this CPU details, right?
so if we delete that instance directly, will this be deleted or
No, no,
like
no.
this one?
This is the SNS topic. This is completely separated from that instance. You can apply this SNS, same SNS topic to multiple resources. It's not limited to that instance only.
Okay.
It's the SNS topic, right? You can attach it with any resource whenever you are going to create the SNS or you are going to create the alarm. Okay, it's basically for the alarms.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right. So you guys can create the alarms as per requirement and you can use them whenever the event occurs. This is how we can do the monitoring. And in monitoring section, we have lots of stuff as well. Network in and out bytes is able. Now, as you can see, we got the CPU, some CPU utilization data here, right? We got
Yeah.
some CPU utilization because it took its time, like 5 minutes around, and it started sending the data on CloudWatch. Status check is currently healthy, so you would not see anything here. Network in and out bytes, matlab network traffic is coming here and going out like that. Disk operation, disk in and out bytes, lots of stuff is there in CloudWatch. You guys can check the CloudWatch by your own. It's a huge topic and also very easy to use. It's not that difficult to manage the CloudWatch. It's very easy to use. So fail to volume, something does not exist. Okay, volume is deleted. That's why it's not shows up the volume information. Volume is automatically deleted. Now I have to check the alarm as well. Although when the instance is deleted, alarm should also be deleted automatically because that was related to the instance. Now alarm was related to the instance, not this one, right? But still,
Mm.
for the safety point of view, we can check the alarm as well or click on all alarms. And as you can see, there is no alarm available here. Okay, so that means alarm was automatically deleted with the instance.
Yeah.
If I click on matrices, all matrices, there is no matrix available here. Like there is no over, like we don't have any resource, that's why. But you can select also select few points here, like target group, click on here. If you have any target group created, these are all old data, right? I guess we have deleted all stuff, so that's why it shows up here. Remember Apache INS1, INS2, and Nginx, that kind of thing we created earlier.
Yeah.
Those target groups are still here, but yeah, they are not in use because instances are dead. So that's all about the concept of CloudWatch, IAM, and the SNS. Again, if you guys have any doubts, you guys can ask. Rajeshwari, do you have any doubts?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Although we have completed the sessions of AWS, I think it's almost complete. There is nothing remaining in AWS which is being used in industry right now. Although the AWS is a very huge thing, if we go to complete cover every service, it's not possible to do so because every service has a specifically targeted audience. You can say some of the services are for the people who are working on machine learning. Some of the services are for people who are working on IoT, and these were the services that are important for the DevOps. Okay,
Okay.
and we will be be starting the Jenkins from next session, and also I will see if there is any other service which is remaining and which is important. We will cover that one as well. Okay.
Okay.
So, what about cloud formation? We are going to learn.
Yeah, that's later part. When we will be talking about the Terraform, at that point we will cover the cloud formation. It's doesn't don't consider it as the service of AWS. Consider it as a separate point because it comes in infrastructure as a code section, right?
As coding. Yep.
So we will cover it in that portion. First, we will talk about Jenkins because we should know about the concept of CI/CD, the continuous integration, continuous deployment. We will integrate the Jenkins with AWS as well. And that point, we will talk about the Terraform and the cloud formation as well. The Ansible is also there. Okay.
So, Manish, is there any Kubernetes and
Yeah,
Docker?
we will have the session of Kubernetes. The That will be the introductory session. We will not deep dive in Kubernetes because again it's a vast technology. But yeah, definitely we will go to Docker as well. We will be creating the Docker files.
So, are you going to teach like how to go like integrate Docker and Kubernetes?
Yeah, yeah, I will tell you
Doc-
that stuff as well.
Yeah. Okay.
We are going to cover those things as well. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.